Hi there, this is Katina Fontes. I'm the Education Coordinator for the Wayside Inn Foundation, and today I'm standing along the old Boston Post Road, the stretch of it that we have that runs between Longfellow's Wayside Inn, which is directly behind us, here, I don't know if you can see it, to the Martha Mary Chapel. Now, this portion of the road is historic and currently preserved. So you can walk along it, but it's not really used for driving. The original Boston Post Road ran from New York to Boston, and a lot of travelers would stop here along their trips to get a meal or have an overnight stay. So it's an important part of our history and important that we preserve it. It also used to be called the Pequot Path by Native Americans. So it is a path, a road that has been in existence for centuries. I wanted to highlight this today because May is National Preservation Month. It's important to really think about our history and the things that we want to preserve and maintain, and the Boston Post Road is a part of that. And so in honor of this month, I wanted to read a little story for our younger friends called Imogene's Last Stand, and it's all about the importance of preservation and history. Imogene's Last Stand by Candace Fleming, illustrated by Nancy Carpenter. Littleville, New Hampshire was small, so small it wasn't even a speck on the state map. Still, Littleville was home to a village green, a general store, and a three-legged cat, and a little girl named Imogene Tripp. Imogene loved history. When she was a baby, her first words were, 7 years ago. As a preschooler, she finger-painted an accurate map of the Oregon Trail, and as a kindergartner, she used her show-and-tell time to give a series of lectures on important women in history. Now, Imogene's attention was on the Littleville Historical Society. The society, a centuries-old house stuffed with dusty antiques, had sat at the end of Main Street, unloved and unwanted, until Imogene pushed open its creaky front door. "Wow!" she exclaimed. "What a mess," added her father. Imogene shook her head. "This isn't a mess, Daddy," she declared. "This is history. And in the immortal words of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., we are made by history." Then she got busy sweeping away cobwebs, filing old letters, pasting yellowed photographs into albums, identifying fossils, organizing arrowheads, and even refinishing a four-poster bed. And when she was done, Imogene waited and waited and waited to give the townspeople a tour. But in the immortal words of Davy Crockett, she sighed, "Ain't nobody comin'." Finally, one Monday morning, a workman arrived. He pounded a sign into the society's front yard. "Torn down!" cried Imogene. "But in the immortal words of William Morris, old buildings do not belong to us. They belong to our forefathers, and they will belong to our descendants." The workman shrugged. "Tell it to the mayor." So Imogene did. When she finished, Mayor Butt shook his cheeks. "My position is firm. Out with the old, in with the new." "What about the society?" cried Imogene. "What about history?" "Who cares about history?" snorted the mayor. "Shoelaces will put this town on the map." He showed her the front door. Out on the sidewalk, Imogene fumed. "I won't let it happen. In the immortal words of John Paul Jones, I have not yet begun to fight." And fight she did. Tuesday morning, dressed in her Paul Revere costume from Halloween, Imogene galloped up and down Main Street. "The bulldozers are coming! The bulldozers are coming!" she shouted. No one heeded her cry. Finally, Mr. Tuttlewit stepped out of the general store. "Hold your ponies, little missy. Don't you know shoelaces are going to put this town on the map?" Imogene snatched her stick horse. In the immortal words of Theodore Roosevelt, "Balderdash!" She stomped home to her father. But Wednesday morning she was at it again. Armed with a stepladder and scotch tape, she tied a red, white, and blue ribbon around every tree, streetlight, stop sign, parking meter, mailbox, fire hydrant, bike rack, baby stroller, and dog collar in town. "Don't let your past get smashed," she cried. No one joined her cause. Finally, Officer Ditzwilliam said, "These bows are real pretty, honey, but shoelaces will put this town on the map." Imogene frowned. She trudged home to her father. But Thursday morning she was back. Up before dawn, she scribbled until her fingers cramped. Then, as the sun rose in the sky, a biplane dipped low over Littleville and dropped hundreds of homemade flyers. "Rally on the village green and save your history," each one read. No one rallied. Finally, little Abner Pitt pedaled over on his tricycle. "Don't you understand, Emmy? Shoelaces are going to put this town on the map." It was the last straw. In the immortal words of Chief Joseph, she sobbed, "My heart is sick and sad." She ran home to her father. All too soon it was Friday. Imogene wandered through her beloved society. "Goodbye, photographs," she sniffled. "Goodbye, fossils and four-poster bed. Goodbye, old letters." A yellow parchment caught her eye. Imogene read it once. She read it twice. She read it aloud. October 16th, 1789. Dear Sir, thank you again for the hospitality you showed me last Tuesday. The oxtail soup was delicious, and the four-poster bed soft as angel clouds. Indeed, I have not slept so well since leaving Mount Vernon. Your humble and obedient servant, G. Washington. Imogene gasped. George Washington? Had he really slept here? Quickly, she wrote a message explaining everything to the renowned Littleville historian, Professor Cornelia Passmatters. "Please hurry," Imogene begged. Then she clicked send and began to pace. Time! If only she had more time! But how could she get some? Inspiration struck, and Imogene sprang into action. When Saturday and the bulldozers arrived, Imogene Tripp stood ready. In the immortal words of the Vietnam War protester, she shouted, "Heck no, I won't go!" The bulldozers growled to a stop, watching, waiting. Her father came on the run. "Imogene, get out of the way!" But Imogene squared her shoulders. "Daddy," she declared, in the immortal words of Abraham Lincoln, "a great oak is only a little nut and that held its ground. I'm holding my ground." Then Mayor Butts huffed up the porch stairs. "Unlock yourself this instant!" "Heck no, I won't go," Imogene cried. The mayor whirled on Imogene's father. "Do something!" Imogene's father looked from mayor to his daughter and back again. "Heck no, we won't go," he finally cried. Mayor Butts's nostrils flared. "That pipsqueak can't stay on this porch forever, and when she moves, smash!" He stomped back to the bulldozers. As the sun rose higher, the townsfolk gathered to see what was happening. Mr. Tuttlewitt arrived, so did Officer Ditzwilliam, and little Abner Pitt. He called out, "Are you all right, Emmy?" In the immortal words of President Martin Van Buren, "I am okay," she replied firmly. By mid-afternoon, TV reporters had arrived. They rushed to interview the little girl who refused to leave the porch. In the immortal words of Eleanor Roosevelt, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do," Imogene told them. Suddenly, a limousine appeared. Its door opened and out stepped Professor Passmatters, gasped Imogene, followed by the President of the United States, gasped the crowd. The president headed straight for the cameras. I'm here to declare this house a national landmark. She held up a brass plaque. George Washington slept here. Imogene whooped. Woo! We did it! Yes, indeed, agreed Professor Passmatters. I'm so proud, said Imogene's father. Little Abner Pitt stepped forward. Wait, he cried. What about shoelaces? Shoelaces, Mayor Butt snorted. Who cares about shoelaces? He smiled for the cameras. Why, our town's history will put us on the map. The townspeople cheered, the bulldozers rumbled away, and Imogene plucked the key from her pocket and freed herself. Then everyone, even Mayor Butts, went on a tour of the Littleville Historical Society. In the immortal words of me, Imogene later said as she waved goodbye to the last of her guests, that was totally fun. It sure was, laughed her father. It sure was. If you want to learn more about the little historical tidbits in this book, I encourage you to get a copy of the book from your local library or from your favorite bookstore.